In this day and age, when we've had so many beloved characters just come out as super transphobic, and I say beloved characters, I mean such beloved childhood specials as JK Rowling and the various Harry Potter actors who have supported her, and comedians that I used to really like Ricky Gervais when I was younger. I liked Ricky Gervais a lot, and then he just swung hard into the transphobia. So it's kind of nice. It's a little breath of fresh air. It's a little relief when someone who you didn't really expect to talk about trans people decides to come out uh, in support and be an ally. And in this case, our boy Will Ferrell, our boy Will Ferrell has decided to make a documentary, and it's called Will and Harper. It's going to be premiering at the Sundance Film Festival, which some folks have criticisms of that, but we'll talk about that in a second. The It's about Will Ferrell's relationship, I guess, with his friend Harper, who is a trans woman who came out a couple years ago, and this was Will Ferrell's kind of first exposure to trans people. It was He just kind of didn't know anything about it, and he was willing to learn. He's willing to be there and listen, and is just generally not being hateful for no reason. Which is like, again, it's bad that it's good news in the context of all this other bad news. It should be normal for people to be trans and for acceptance to be the norm, but it is not that way. So it does feel good sometimes when folks are affirming. They go out of their way. They don't really need to go out of their way. Will Ferrell could have just had this personal, private relationship and did not need to make this public statement, effectively making an entire documentary.
Hey, real quick, hit the like button if you're enjoying the content. Hit the subscribe button as well and turn on all notifications. And also take a moment to check out the links in the description for merchandise and Patreon, where you can find exclusive free content.
So there's an article and then there's a little interview. So we'll read a little bit from this article. Will Ferrell says that 3 summers ago, Harper emailed a lot of her close friends, and she was explaining that she was going to transition. Everybody was excited to hear the news and, of course, surprised. Everybody was very supportive and they expressed love to her. It did sort of open up questions like, how can we help you? What do you need us to do? That's some good friends right there. That's some good friendship. They're like, what can we do? Farrell said he had zero knowledge about the trans community before Harper came out to him. This was all just kind of new territory for him. Harper adds that this tells the story of a cis friend of a trans person who has to transition himself. It's like, I guess, about the cis person working through their feelings about their trans friend coming out. Some people are going to complain about that, I'm sure, and say, oh, you're centering cis people in this dialogue, but you need cis people to have relatable stories in order for them to accept trans people. They have a really hard time empathizing with trans people because they think that the concept of gender dysphoria is like totally alien, even though cis people experience gender dysphoria all the time. We just don't pathologize it. But you need cis people to have a reference point of, what do you do when a friend comes out? So this is going to probably address a lot of those pretty basic questions that people have. But let's watch this cute little interview. Cute little interview.
What was your sort of, I guess, baseline knowledge of the trans experience before this very personal? It touched you very personally.
Baseline knowledge?
Yeah.
Zero. Yeah, I really, I know I'd met trans people before. I didn't have anyone personally in my life. So this was all, new territory for me, which is why I think this piece is so exciting for us to kind of put out there in the world, because I think it's a chance for, all of us in the cis community to be able to kind of ask questions that I know for me, it was a chance for me to.
That triggered people so much. Who is that next to him? That's his friend Harper, who he made the documentary with. But him saying the cis community has triggered people on Twitter hardcore. Like, that's some of the people who I was blocking a minute ago were going, oh, cis is a slur. There is no such thing as the cis community. I guess there is this conversation that sometimes people have that there's no such thing as the trans community because it's just a bunch of disparate people who don't all agree on, we don't all believe the same things. But it's like, yeah, we do have something in common. And so I think that that might be one of the areas where people get tripped up at the idea of a cis community. It's like, but I'm like, I don't have anything in common with the rest of these people. Like, yeah, you do. You've got the cisness. You've got the cisness in common. And you do share some amount of ignorance. And you do have similar experiences to each other that are unique to the experiences that trans people have. They're different than the experiences that we have. It's crazy how rare it is. Yeah, thank you, Mama. Exactly. It's crazy how rare it is for people to just go, oh, a new thing I didn't get before? Okie dokie, artichoke. Like, all right, cool. I don't really need to go into a whole thing about this. It doesn't have to be a big deal. Just go, hey, I love you. That's so great. I'm so happy for you. How can I help? Okay, cool. This doesn't affect me at all. Anyway, the cis community in such a tiz over this.
To ask questions that I know, and to also just to listen and to be there as a friend to discuss this journey.
Sure.
He's like, this is an opportunity for growth. I get to learn a new thing. I get to practice being a good friend. Like, it's good, quality, wholesome guy. I didn't realize that Will Ferrell was this wholesome as a human person, but he is. Will Ferrell, cis Riz. It's refreshing.
I mean, first of all, I love the.
Did you feel like I was a good listener or not really?
I feel like you're running.
The emphasis on listening too. That he's like, I was able to ask questions, but more importantly, to listen and learn. This is one of those things of also like cis folks have a tendency to not be humble. Not very humble is a good way to phrase that, because they don't recognize that to some extent they need to submit to a person who knows more than them when they're talking to a trans person about trans people. This is the thing that people don't get. Like, you are here to learn from me. You are not here to make assertions to me about trans people. Like, that's one of those things that has always bugged me. Like, did you guys know that once upon a time I was on Modern Day Debate? Jimmy Snow dragged me and EJ. He politely asked us to be on there because he was invited to go on there to debate about trans issues or about non-binary people specifically, maybe. And so he was like, I should probably invite the 2 non-binary people I know to come be on the show. So I was on Modern Day Debate with Steve McRae and whoever the main guy is with the chin, and Jimmy, and then EJ as well. That was like the first time I think that I really realized that there should be a dynamic of, if a cis person is coming and talking to a trans person or a non-binary person about the existence of trans and non-binary people, like, I don't know why the fuck you think you have any right to tell me anything about it, because like, I know about it and you do not. It's like it's like Ron Swanson at the Home Depot. He's like, I know more than you. Like, I know more than you. I don't know why you are trying to debate me. I don't know why you're trying to tell me the facts of the situation. Like, humble yourself and be willing to learn. Is that debate on YouTube? I want to see Lux in action. It's not supposed to be a debate. Like, we didn't, like, EJ and I did not really go into it. I think it was Modern Day Debate. Like, I thought it was. That was my ex-best friend's issue. He kept trying to tell me what was and wasn't transphobic when talking about things he said, and he could not shut up. Yeah, people need to just chill the hell out. So I do appreciate Will Ferrell just going, yeah, this is for me to learn about. I don't need to tell you something about your gender stuff. And he's concerned. He asked her just now, like, do you feel like I was a good listener? Like, was I a good listener? I tried to be. And it's important to me that you felt that I was listening, which is just so good. I love him.
Most of the
I feel
days.
like you're running for mayor here.
I feel like you're running for mayor here, she
I
said.
am running for mayor.
Yeah. By the way, I just want to point out, he did say an extraordinary email.
Yes.
What would you say?
She's really quiet.
I mean, in terms of
Craft?
no. We're very workmanlike. But in terms of the announcement, extraordinary. Work lady.
Work ladylike. Yeah, just a cute little interview. It's really meaningful just to hear someone ask if you thought they were a good listener. I don't even know how I'd react to that. I am demographically and in my life experience the kind of person who experiences kind of a perpetual sense of not being heard, so I don't know how I would respond if someone was like around me and they were prioritizing being a good listener. I think that I would be suspicious that that person was trying to hurt me. Like, unfortunately, is what I believe that would feel like. So wholesome. So much more reason to love him. True. We love Will Ferrell. He was in the Barbie movie, and I loved him in the Barbie. Very enjoyable. He also spoke over her gender-affirming trans misogyny. Yeah, he interrupted her like a typical man. Very cool. All right.
Hi, thank you so much to all of my patrons, especially Tiago Nascimento, Mersh Rolvag, Amanda B., Michelle Frateroli, Michelle Winter, Wellington Marcus, Danielle McDonald, DZXN, Suzanne Maynard, Spooky Heather Sylvia, Jamie Jam, Pasnell Infinity, Nova, Elizabeth Bartell, Sojo, Sarah A., Athiet, Kevin Young, Celeste, Desi Quiche, Liam Hodgson, Mr. Atheist, and Ella V. Nobody.